Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. There was a question that Sabauti Member of Parliament, Kalem Hamisi, asked Defense CS nominee, not Defense, former Cabinet Secretary for Defense, Adan Duale, who was facing the committee. Of course, the Cabinet Secretaries that worked with Ruto during the first 2 years and had gotten reappointment, they were, of course, they had to receive questions both from their previous docket and the new dockets they were having. And one of the things I think many have realized, and someone have also shared that with me, is there is this question that Caleb Amisi asked Duale, and then there is a response that Duale gave. So I want us to look at that response and interpret behind the scene intrigues on a military factor, how the military bosses actually implored on President William Ruto to remove, last minute to remove, to reshuffle Duale from that ministry. So if you missed that question, worry not, because I want to play for you that video here. Now this is the question that Caleb Amisi asked Duale.
With your permission, kindly, I request to finish the other question with your kind permission. Thank you, because I had to, but it's a privilege of being the first. Thank you, Speaker. I just want to know where the nominee came from, the Military of Defense, because I happen to have served in the Committee of Defense and interacted with the ministry a lot. There is something peculiar that happened that I've not seen, where the public officers use defense choppers, military choppers, and the military artillery to move around the country, putting the risk of the defense and of course the officers. In fact, in the public domain, it can be true or not true, which if not true, I will withdraw, is that the military has feared you. You have become more military than the military themselves. Is it true, and why did the military fear you?
I don't think the military fear me, but you have put many things. I don't know. You talked about choppers, and then you brought the issue of fear. So, are you saying I fear going by military choppers?
No, I said I've never seen other public officers other than the president, who is the commander-in-chief, using military choppers to move around the country, and other members of the public office who are not in the military. And also, there is a war.
Are you talking of civilians? Because military officers are also public officers.
Yeah, like like the deputy president, like the ministers. This is something that I've never seen for some time. So I wanted just him to clarify whether also deputy president is allowed to use military choppers, or was it misuse of power in your, because it's something that I've never seen with the previous ministers.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, let me say it because it gave me a lot of bad publicity. But when you serve in a public office, that's part of life. Within the reading and the instruction of the Commander-in-Chief, at the Ministry of Defense, the Commander-in-Chief is the President. The President and the First Lady are the people allowed to use military air assets with a rider. If the Commander-in-Chief allows the Speaker of the National Assembly to be airlifted from Nairobi to Bungoma, that is in order, but with the concurrence of the Commander-in-Chief. I don't know, I don't think the rank and the file and the leadership of the Defense Ministry fear me. Maybe my style. And I'll take the same style to Forest. I'll take the same style. I had the same style in Parliament.
We have no evidence that they fear you. Mukami?
Thank you, Chair. Given the recent concerns about the government directives on grazing within the forest foresters are really harassing the communities. What are the long-term plans for collaborating with communities living near the forests? The other one is about the floods. Recently, the country experienced floods that left many stranded on account of ineffective rescue operations. If approved.
This question was very interesting, and especially for me because there's so many other developments around it that I want us to pay attention to. The decision by William Ruto to drop Duale as the defense CS came after military chiefs demanded his removal and asserting it found it difficult, and them saying they found it difficult to work with him. I'm just looking at one of the tabloids here. This story of inside Duale's war with military chiefs and his lucrative state house renovation tender. There are quite a number of issues. So that tabloid is saying that the president also got wind, and this is what they are saying, that immediately he nominated Duale as defense CS, celebrations rocked some parts of Mogadishu, Somalia, where the former Garissa MP had some lucrative business interests. They say, your favorite newspaper is privy to information that Ruto's announcement of his 11 cabinet nominees, the top military chiefs the top military chiefs booked an appointment at State House where they told the head of state of their strong reservations on working with Duale. But the military chiefs were comfortable working with the Defense Principal Secretary, Patrick Mariru. So there are other mooted changes for the PS. It's also coming, and we'll be paying attention to see if there will also be a reshuffle in that docket. And Duale, who they say that Duale had been pushing, who is married to former KDF boss, General Mohammed, is said to have been pushing for a cartel made up of Somalis to bag lucrative tenders at the defense headquarters at the expense of the traditional suppliers. He was also engaged in operations in Kenya Meat Commission run by the military. The traditional suppliers of DoD includes the businesswoman Mary Wambui, who is said to be Ruto's front spanner girl in business circles. Duale extended into that. Other sources attributed Duale's downfall to his tendency to advance the interests of others. Now, reports indicate that he failed to appreciate that, and this is the part I think I really want to pay attention to, that he failed to appreciate that the president as the commander-in-chief has no deputy, and that the CS is a ceremonial political appointment meant largely to lead the civilian policy wing of the defense unit, of the defense, and not the combat wing. Now, this is what I would want to really pay attention to. Duale kept trying to undermine the operational foundation and doctrines of the military, and often kept the top brass in countless meetings that added no value. Now, there is the civilian policy wing of the defense, and then there is the combat wing. Maybe what could have, and one of the things I would just attribute to this is that rushed deployment of the military. If you listen to what Duale was explaining, and when he was asked about the KDF, and I remember he even rushed and deployed, then did the gazettement very fast. And there was a report that there were sections of the military that were uncomfortable with that deployment. Now, if you look at, and some figures, some quarters were saying it was rushed, it was unnecessary, and of course they just needed to look at the internal solutions from the police circles, from the police sector, to solve the problem, because according to the military bosses, the country had not reached that point. Now, I would want you to listen to his response when he was asked about his rush to deploy the military.
Acceptable, if more, that's unacceptable, and it's part of the corruption that I was telling you, which is I think all of us together, the citizens themselves, the anti-corruption agencies, all of us together, we must face on. Why did I deploy KDF? I did not deploy KDF. The framers of the Constitution put Article 241, 3B, and 3C in the Constitution. So Kenya Defense Forces are in the streets. They're in Boni Forest fighting Al-Shabaab. They're in North Rift making sure that we deal with the banditry. They were in Westgate during the terror attack. They were in Garissa University during the terror attack where we lost many people. So for peace, public order, public safety, where the police are overwhelmed, Article 241 3B kicks in the function of the Minister for Defense. By then, me, is once the article kicks in, then I am supposed to do certain subsidiary legislation. I gazette. And Mr. Speaker, all of us know Article 132 of the Constitution obligates the President to protect the other arms of government. He is the chair of the National Security Council. That day, the Office of the Chief Justice and the Supreme Court, as an institution, was under threat, under attack. Parliament and the colleagues sitting here, if KDF did not come to assist the other security agents, God forbid, many members of Parliament could have died, including our Speaker. Parliament could have been burnt. I will not be that irresponsible as a Minister of Defense with a provision of the Constitution. I used the law. And then the House went further the next morning because it was going on a very long recess. They invoked Article 241 3C. But when LSK went to court, Justice Mugambe, I don't want to discuss more because the matter is still in court, gave orders that I should give and gazette and do a new gazette on the terms of engagement, on how many places, and I said in the 47 places. Ours was to protect key institutions. Parliament is a symbol of democracy and governance. It is the home of the people's representatives. Mr. Speaker, all my life in Parliament, people used to come and present petitions. And any member of Parliament who's outside, near the gate, used to receive and take it to the office of the clerk or the office of the Speaker. I have never seen where people want to come and ban Parliament. So I think I want to thank the framers of the Constitution. I participated, the Speaker participated, many other members participated. I think it's today and that day, 25th of June, I realized how important Article 241, 3B and C is.
Owen.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like to ask a question to the nominee, Honorable Duale. Just one question, that this country envisages to have a nuclear plant in a place called Uyombo in Kilifi County. Without due regard to the environmental issues in question, like the...
Now that deployment, according to me, is a combat wing. Of course, combat wing. From what I see, there could have been breakup of, there could be no concurrence between the military personnel, the military top brass, and the Duale, of course the ministry, because they were acting on what the president have said. If you look at what they were saying, he was saying, that they wanted to ban Parliament and they wanted to kill some MPs. Something that I heard the Duale saying and also Kindiki saying, but it's also on record that protesters, when they got to Parliament, they got 2 MPs, and one MP, Yego, who was disabled, they even drove his his wheelchair to the car that was parked inside Parliament, and nothing was done to him. Not even a phone was snatched to him. He said nothing was done to him. So there've been bit of that. And if they're saying he even created for himself a mini ADC in full combat gear, said a source, also raising eyebrows as what was his connection moving forward. So there is some problem, and I think looking at this article and the manner in which Duale was responding to some of those queries, and the fact that that query came out there, it came out from Caleb Amisi, it cannot be wished away that Duale could have been could have had fallout with the military chiefs. Now I want us to look at that and what exactly went wrong, because from now that question and what this tablet is saying, there is a probability that those who kicked out the CS from that defense ministry could be the military top brass. And what really went wrong? What could have went wrong? Number one, I think the transition at Ogola's death created some frictions. That transition was not very seamless because it was not occasioned. It was the first of its kind. And of course, Hariri had to take over now from the vice to take over. There were so many other interests at stake. I'm one person that believe that before the death of Ogola, I think when William Ruto picked Ogola, he picked Ogola in a very unfamiliar situation where he was looking for one of the most trusted soldiers to believe, or rather to trust on moving forward, because looking at the kind of maybe the disagreement, the kind of environment that was in the military. So he was probably looking for someone he could trust. And maybe he laid some trust on Ogola. But after that death, and you'll remind me, I'll do some flashback on what happened to the report. We'll try to do some flashback on that. The transition after the death of Ogola, there were so many other factors that were at play. Remember, just recently, there was the issues of chopper. He issued a ban on chopper, that the chopper cannot be used by so and here. Probably some factors, some quarters of the military feel that he does not control the military equipment. There was an argument about it, that is it something that he's not the one to even to issue that order that I have banned the use of military choppers. That can only be done by the commander-in-chief, who is the president. So that is why, if you're understanding this issue of combat and the civilian wing, it is coming up because there's some pronouncements, some policy pronouncements that were seen as overlap of responsibilities because they're entirely under the full command of the CIC. Now, I know very well that one of the things that happened is the moment William Ruto picked Duale, Duale is William Ruto's friend, way back from URP. So by then they have a very strong bond, a friendship beyond the politics. So he was also putting that dog at someone he really trusts. But could it be that when the cabinet was formed and it had a baggage, a lot of entitlement. People felt we belong, we made this government, this is ours. So could it be that there was some sort of infiltration from the military structure because of the overtrust that probably the CS was getting from the president? And that is why the military chiefs are also complaining about this. I remember someone was just saying about the pronouncement in Isili about the buildings. The pronouncement that President did, President went somewhere in Isili when he was talking somewhere, I think in Mathare, and was saying that they're now going to allow tall buildings to be done in the 30th floor in Isili because that caveat has limited investment. Now, most people in that area are actually from the Somali group. It could be that there was influence for that caveat to be removed, and that might have been influenced, that policy might have been influenced. Of course, that policy is bordering civilian, but the military also have their concern about their trainings, exposure of the military camp that is just around there. So this might have also have created some friction. Remember, those who are investing there are quite a number of them are Somalis. Lastly, the other thing I can see is promotion setbacks. These promotions, the 2 promotions, 3 promotions, there was one that was done last year. Then I think February, there was also another one. There was last year, February, then I think this year there was also another one. Then after, just recently, there was also some other promotion. So who promotes? What are the factors on table? Is there a level of influence on promotions? I can always tell you, when you see people fighting in offices, it can always be about this. And lastly, I think it's about the interests, the deals, deep interests, the billions in that document. But that ministry is one of the most funded, and that's very secretive deals because they are not to be, there is a caveat somewhere, not a must for them to be audited. So if you look at all this, there is something somewhere, there is an understanding that the military might have influenced the decision for Duale to be removed from that ministry. Thank you guys, let's meet in the next.